Hello and welcome back to the Non-Aggression Podcast, a show produced entirely by North American students who love liberty. I'm your host, Asher Bookestein. I have a co-host.
I'm Sanket Kumar.
Really glad to have you on, and we got some more surprises coming along, so make sure to stay watching us live. If you're not familiar with the Non-Aggression Podcast, we are powered by Students for Liberty, which is a worldwide organization giving young adults the tools to fight for peace, limited government, free speech, and limited government, free speech, and free markets. We have a very special episode coming out today. We're going to hear from other members of Students for Liberty, and we can hear about the projects that we're working on. But first, like usual, I'd like to talk about the Students for Liberty events that are going on right now. Right now, we are at the Project Leadership Retreat. Do you want to talk a little bit about what the Project Leadership Retreat is, Sanket?
Yeah, sure. The Project Leadership Retreat is just a thing the SFL has set up, and it brings people from all around North America down into one place so we can start to pursue our own projects, pursue our own passions, and create something that will impact not just us in the short term, but impact everyone in the long term. So yeah, they've been helping us with that.
Yeah, it's a really special program. People have come from all over North America, United States, Canada, and we even have some international students. So it's a really special program. But anyway, we have some. It's been 2 weeks since the last episode, so we actually have a lot of news to get through. So we'll start out with the title, and that is last Thursday, Trump signed an executive order to combat homelessness. Okay, so it's called the Ending Crime and Disorder on America's Streets. Did you read anything about this, Sanket?
I have a little bit of background knowledge on it, but as a Canadian, we do have similar things, but I'm not the most well-educated on that.
That's fair enough. So essentially, for those of you who did not hear about this, there was a lot of housing-related events that actually happened this week. Two things at the same time. So we'll talk about a little bit of both at the same time, because the other one was the I'm just going to make sure I call it. It's the Road to Housing Act of 2025. So we're going to be talking about both a little bit. But anyway, back to the executive order. This was an executive order by President Donald Trump, which essentially is a change of tone with how the federal government is going to be treating homelessness, the problem of homelessness in our country. It's essentially, for the past few years under the previous administration, there was something called the Housing First approach, which was to try to focus on the fact that homeless people have no homes. Focus on that. This new approach, signed into the executive order, is going to focus more on essentially taking homeless people off the streets by whatever means necessary. So that it's going to be incentivizing law enforcement to do whatever means necessary to really focus on crime when it comes to homeless people, really focus on getting people with mental health issues into psych wards, and there's a whole bunch of federal grants that are going to be going to be spent on that, and much more aggressive approach as opposed to the previous administration. What do you think on that? What is your Canadian view on the problem of homelessness?
As a Canadian, we have a huge homeless issue, despite years of liberal rule trying to fix it. They've been doing everything from trying to be less strict on crime, trying to be less strict on violent crimes. They're trying to throw people into houses, trying to give them money, trying to do a bunch of stuff. Does not work, never has, never will. Socialism is really bad at making people better off, but like all other things, I would be very skeptical of this working, and I would much rather they just make sure that these people don't get homeless in the first place by making sure that they can get jobs, making sure that they're not taxed to death, making sure that their houses aren't stolen by the city governments.
Yeah, that. I think that echoes a lot of the thoughts from you might hear from other local coordinators at Students for Liberty, but we may be hearing other opinions coming up soon. I wanted to give my own thoughts on this. Homelessness is definitely a problem in the sense that, well, of course it's a problem, but it really feels like what the previous administration was trying to do was not working. And, say what you like about this policy or that policy, but when something is not working, the intelligent response is usually to not try that thing and to try a different thing. The problem is this different thing I don't think is good. I was going to say perfect, but it's massively expanding the power of the federal government into deciding what the individual local police officers can do and can't do. I read the whole thing this morning. You could argue that it's mostly just talking about the direction the administration wants to go, but it's also talking about policies about the departments, the Department of I think Health and Human Services is going to get involved. I believe the Department of State is going to get involved, and really just tell local law enforcement and local places this is what you have to do. And in my opinion, who's going to know best about the specific homelessness issues in each location? It's probably going to be the local officials, local police. But again, it's a complicated issue. And again, what seemed to be happening before it wasn't having much of an effect. So.
Yeah, I would kind of agree with that statement. Local police do tend to know their local populations a lot better. If there's a local collection of homeless people that aren't really harming other people, they aren't really doing any major harm, they've kind of just been brought out into homelessness because of factors that nobody can really control. The local police force do tend to know these people. They tend to be more, soft with them. They don't go too hard on them, and because these people aren't causing too many problems, the local population doesn't really want them to be harmed
problems.
either. Yeah,
I mean, homelessness is a problem.
Homelessness is a problem,
Yeah.
but they aren't committing violent crimes. They aren't.
Not always.
They're not being nuisances to the public. They aren't harassing people. They're just down on their luck. They've maybe permanently or temporarily been dehoused. And yes, it is a problem that we need to look to fixing, but I don't think that the federal government should come down and try to change how police officers interact with local populations.
Yeah, it's again, I really am sympathetic to people who feel that the government has been too soft on homelessness, especially when it comes to, I've been to downtown LA. There's places that are just awful, and Portland, and I've been to Detroit. And if you kind of see homelessness as a moral issue, as a laziness issue, then from that perspective, then you really could make the argument that, being too hands-off is not enough. However, there's so many contradictions to this executive order, and I also want to talk about the contradictions, which is the Trump administration is talking a lot about how it's going to cut the funding for all these different programs. Okay, so the Department of Government Efficiency made a big thing about how it's going to cut the Department of Housing. Okay, well, guess what? How are you supposed to expand all this funding for all these new programs in an executive order if you're cutting the Department of Housing? You're cutting all these other programs, but they also have to expand at the same time. And, a lot of especially Democrats have been pointing fingers at this, but I don't think you have to be a Democrat to see that there's a contradiction there.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of the things this administration's been doing. It's very contradictory. they'll say that they're cutting a bunch of things, and then they'll expand the deficit. They'll expand how much they spend, even on the same things. They just change the name a little and spend more money on the same thing, essentially. And honestly, I think it's just my opinion, but I think this administration's running purely based on vibes and Twitter likes.
That kind of feels like politics has been vibes for a very long time, but now it's just really, nobody's hiding it anymore. Yeah, and speaking of other contradictions, so remember how I was saying that a big part of this order was a switch in approach from housing first to getting people off the street first? This very same day, last Thursday, Tim Scott and Elizabeth Warren, for folks at home who don't know, Tim Scott is Republican, Elizabeth Warren is Democrat, so this is a bipartisan, they introduced the Bipartisan Road to Housing Act 2025, which is a housing first act. At the same time, like, what's going on here? It's a very weird act in itself, because I mean, let me just explain a little bit what this act is essentially proposing. It's very bipartisan. It seems like it's going to pass very easily, is my understanding. It's got a lot of support from Republicans and Democrats, because we can all agree that we have a housing crisis in the United States and other places in the world, but, you know, North American podcast. Yeah. And people are starting to wake up to the idea that libertarians have been saying forever, that the problem is not enough houses.
100%. Yep.
And so basically this act is essentially trying to move money around from federal money from local governments that are focusing. They're going to move money toward local governments that focus on creating new housing and deregulating some of the zoning laws, and which I think is amazing, and we should have done that a long time ago. The increased subsidies, on the other hand, that's a different matter. So it's how are they going to pay for this? Where's all the new money going to come from this? But I'm absolutely down for the deregulation of this act. What do you think, Sankit?
There's 4 things in politics nowadays that will 100% get you elected: the kids, the invaders, and my investment portfolio, and then military spending.
That's pretty succinct.
It's like that Lois Griffin clip from Family Guy. 9/11 is bad, and everyone cheers. Just keep repeating the same 4 things.
No way. That's so controversial that you would say that. Yeah.
Just keep repeating the four things, and you'll always get a vote. That's how politics is, and we need to start making people see that housing really shouldn't be an investment, because if housing is an investment, that means it needs to get more expensive for people to make money. I was looking on Twitter this morning. People were posting their parents and grandparents' houses and how much they've grown in value. They bought a house in like the 1970s for a few $100,000, and now it's worth millions of dollars in just a few decades. Like, one owner.
Yeah, the meme about buying, your house for a can of beans and selling it for millions, it's not too far off. I mean, My grandparents, same thing. My parents were born, or whatever, they came of age at a specific time where they were ready to buy a house exactly at 2008, which was perfect for them. Not so great for a lot of other people who lost their jobs, but they didn't lose their jobs. But now, cut to 2025, man, like, all these policies assume that housing is an investment that has to keep going up and up and up and up and up and up forever, when it's really not an investment in the same way that, like, stocks are, bonds are, securities are. Like, it's a good, it's a place to live, and the only reason housing goes up is if there aren't enough of them for all the people. So I'm hopeful for this act that maybe we can deregulate, we can allow more houses to be built in America, which will cause the price to drop. Some of the subsidies, how are they going to pay for that? Increase taxes or increase the the debt. Obviously not good. But yeah, do you have any closing thoughts on this? Something you wanted to add?
No, I think we mainly went through everything. My primary issue with housing has always been you're not building enough. I don't want to end up like Vancouver, $1 million average house.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not really changing your house at all, or if you like didn't spot like a kind of house that's undervalued when it was originally put up, and you're just making money just by living in your own house without changing anything, I think that's a symptom of a problem. And I get that people like seeing big numbers go up, but do you want your kids to be able to live in a home? That's kind of like, it's not as bad for us. Like, it's really bad for us, but not as bad. But like, if everyone's paying millions of dollars for a house, nobody's going to be able to own a home. And then you're just going to be living in Section 8 or whatever you guys have for social housing here. Everyone's just going to be living under government-ruled housing. We're going to have commie blocks everywhere.
And we know how well that works out in other places around the world. Not too well. Well, anyway, so that was kind of the main headline I wanted to talk about. Those two things, contradictory, but that's kind of the story of many things in politics. Let's move on to some of the other headlines. So we got a few other things. On Sunday, Trump announced a new US-EU trade deal. 15% tariffs on most goods from the EU. There are some exceptions, but boy, where do we begin on that? I mean, like, it's if you've been paying attention to the news, it's been tariffs for a while. But part of the reason is because things keep changing and it's never consistent. And again, 15% on most European goods. Problem with that, not all European countries have tariffs on the US to start off, so you can't say it's reciprocal. Also, most of the EU territories are friendly, so there's no national defense argument for that. Also, it's not really a bargaining chip because it's not helping the US achieve their goals, and we haven't really made any goals that changed things for the better in the sense of bargaining with tariffs. And businesses are already starting to increase their prices. I was already starting to see headlines about it's going up. And so it really is true that consumers pay the price of tariffs. This is just another change to the tariff situation.
Yeah, I was reading an article a while back. Businesses are mainly just eating the cost for now, just hoping that Trump kind of sees that tariffs don't help.
Especially
anything.
The big ones. I just want to add.
Especially
The
the
ones
big
who can
ones.
afford to. The smaller ones, we'll see. But you can keep going.
Yeah, like a lot of businesses, they're just eating the cost for now, hoping that they don't have to raise prices and chase away customers. But eventually there comes a time when you can't eat the cost anymore. Like Ford and I believe Chevy have been eating the cost of the tariffs for their cars for a while, running their America patriotic thing going on, but it's just business.
And I just want to explain a little bit. I assume a lot of people watching understand how tariffs work, but just in case you don't, you might be thinking, hey, Ford is in America. Ford is an American car company. Why does Ford get hit by the tariffs? Well, because the parts and supplies that they need to make the cars aren't all made in America. So they buy parts from different places around the world. The steel and the different plastic components and all the other things. That still ends up in the price of putting together the car. So don't let anyone tell you just because a company is headquartered in the US that it's not going to be affected by tariffs. There's so many things that go into a product that tariffs, that the tax increases the price on. How does Canada feel about the whole US tariff situation?
It's mainly just a tax on Americans buying Canadian products. It's still just an artificial price increase on our product. So consumers are consuming less of our stuff. They're consuming less American stuff too. And in totality, it's just eventually just going to be the people who can make it the cheapest while also being within the tariffs who come out on top. I don't think it's the Americans because, well, yes, the tariffs are supposed to help Americans. Americans do tend to make more expensive things on average, and China tends to make more cheaper things. So a 15% tariff on cars that cost $10,000 versus like 50% tariffs on steel for American car manufacturers to import. It's just going to cost American car manufacturers more to make their own cars to sell to Americans than it costs the Chinese to make their car in China and then sell it to Americans. So
yeah, I'd also like to add that the reason why this is so naive is because there's also a lot of cheating that goes on. China doesn't have a 15%. It has a much higher, but I don't remember off the top of my head. But if you're a Chinese company and you want to sell to America, you're not going to ship it directly from China to the U.S. You're going to sneakily move the car over to another place in the world that has lower tariffs and then move it from that country over to the U.S. So all you've really done is you've just wasted the shipping freighter's time by moving it out over to another country first. It's still coming from China, but now there's a middleman, and you've just wasted all the time and money in the process. It's so naive.
It honestly, I just think it's just there for Trump to post on Truth Social, be like, look, guys, I'm helping American workers, while every time socialism always causes American workers to suffer, international workers to suffer, American businesses to suffer, international businesses to suffer. We're not communists. The communists put on tariffs on us because they don't want Western capitalist decadence entering their country. They want American stuff to seem disgusting, expensive, and low quality. But we understand that centrally planned economies don't work, that we need to make markets freer, because if we can import cheaper stuff, if we offshore, well, yes, some people, okay, I'm going to go on a tangent here, just so that I don't hurt people's feelings. Yes, losing your job does hurt. Losing an industry does hurt. But when you lose an industry that produces, let's say, plastics to China, you have actually made labor more available for more advanced things so that you can make more money inside of America. Because
you're just saying it gets shifted somewhere else, that labor, is that what you're saying? Yeah.
So the products cost cheaper for you to buy, while you are now available to enter into a different industry that is looking for workers. This helps American businesses grow because new industries always need new labor. And if jobs don't get removed from the industry, or if there's like a massive growth in population, you're just not going to have the industry or the workers to enter these. So AI, for example, like, you want people getting into AI. You want Americans to get into AI. But you can't do that if a huge chunk of the population is stuck making steel just because Trump is subsidizing it. Like, if steel production moves to Canada, you have Americans who can get into a different job, which would free up software engineers who can get into AI, and you kind of want that. So yeah. I mean, I know it hurts your feelings. I'm sorry, but if you look at it in the bigger term, if you try to separate your feelings from your from reason, I think you'll see my point.
Yeah. As I was about to say wise. I don't know if I'd say wise. As a man once said, facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah. Well, anyway, before I continue, I should have asked, are there any Canadian-specific news headlines that have happened recently and the past week or 2 weeks you wanted to bring up?
So a company I intern for, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, they just put out a news release just a few hours ago about the CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. It's a crown corporation, basically meaning it's funded by the government, and it's controlled by the government, but it's like semi-private. It's really weird. And we basically managed to get their the incomes of a bunch of people. The great thing about it being a crown corporation is that we can force the government to give us information about them. Yep. So we got the information about how much money they're making, and it's a lot. People are being paid much more money than like the national average for the same positions in private sectors, and that's tax dollars primarily going towards this. So we're getting tax dollars being spent by the government to create government propaganda, and they're being paid a lot more than the normal, and it's disgusting.
That's really interesting because I want just to interesting that you bring that up, because also recently, might have been a week or two ago, in the U.S. we had a similar thing, except it was actually cutting PBS funding. So the public broadcast service system, I forget what the S stands for, was a government public television and media service. They've been going on for a very long time. It's still going on, but as it turns out, most of the funding was private donors, but it was still getting a lot coming from the government to keep up this broadcast service. So it's on the TV, it's on the radio. NPR was a subset of PBS. Anyway, the Trump administration recently canceled that budget because it's taxpayer dollars that are going toward this government Orwellian media news thing. Maybe that's a little harsh. A lot of people like them, NPR and PBS. But here's the thing. People were getting outraged. How dare Trump cancel this? He's canceling all these super important shows I listen to, and he's canceling Sesame Street. And now there's never going to be Sesame. Guess what? No, stop panicking. It's still going on. It just needs like voluntary funding now from donors, which it is raising now, and things are going to keep continuing just as ever. Just now we're not getting taxed for it. How is this not a good thing? How is this not good that your tax dollars aren't being forced to go there? I don't understand. But yeah.
If you really like it, if you really like the taxes, you can just take the money you would have paid them anyways and donate it.
I know.
If you really like that.
Yeah. So no, Sesame Street is not going anywhere. NPR is not going anywhere. Anyway, stop panicking is basically what I'm trying to say. Yeah, that was just kind of factoring to that because, it was
Fox News
related.
and CNN still do exist. That's all I'm going to say.
And those are just the best. Those are just
greatest sources
the
of
cream
media.
of the crop. Cream of the crop, always trustworthy. Well, this was the point where I was going to switch to another segment, but I did think there would be more people. So we're just going to keep going on with the next news. So this is a really micro thing. This is just funny. I don't know if you heard there is a statement from President Trump talking about why the Epstein files won't be released because it's not necessary. And he said, quote, "I never had the privilege of going to Epstein's island." And the best part is he didn't even correct himself. So I can put that video in afterwards, just to show the clip. But I just thought that was so funny, just as a quote on its own. Have to mention it. We're really changing the narrative on this. Next thing you know, next thing the White House says, "Oh, Epstein's Island, it was actually just a theme park resort." That's all it was, and that's all it's ever been. You never know how the narrative is going to change. So I just wanted to bring that up.
I love when, like, in the first few weeks of his presidency, he's like, "I have the Epstein files on my desk. We're gonna prosecute these people." And now, what Epstein files? They don't exist.
What? What's that?
And also, by the way, Clinton made them, but Clinton's also on them, but Clinton made them.
Oh yeah, yes. The Clintons definitely wrote themselves onto the list that they wrote to incriminate themselves.
Yep.
No, it's just really sad about it really does seem like the whole thing is just going to get canned because Congress went on recess and they can't do anything when they're sitting around on vacation. So it really seemed like that was intentionally done early, just so they could avoid that Epstein files and hope and pray that everybody forgets about it and stops talking about it. I don't know if that will happen, because people have been talking about the Epstein case for years, like since the first Trump administration, long time ago. So yeah, we'll see how well that goes for them.
Epstein was guilty of trafficking children to nobody in particular.
Oh yeah.
He had an island. He was trafficking kids. Who to? I don't know. Probably nobody. The world's biggest.
Gotta be careful what we say so we don't get sued. But yeah.
Bleep me out. Bleep me out. Just a long bleep. But yeah. The biggest security systems and the biggest intelligence agencies in the world could not figure out.
Lost it. They just lost it. It's all gone. Well, at this point, if there's anybody who's in the room right now who would like to participate right now to play a little game, anyone? All right. All right. So it's going to be me and you in a second. All right. Yeah. So I created this game, and this will actually be fun because you are not on the social media team, so you may not be as familiar with the comments that we get. But here's what we're going to do. I am going to read you 2 comments that we've gotten on either our YouTube, our Instagram, or our TikTok. Here's the twist, though. One of them's real, and one of them's fake. One of them I made up. And you have to guess which one I copied and pasted, and which one just absolute craziness.
YouTube is the greatest.
Bonus points if you can guess which platform. I don't know. That might be too hard, but if you want to give that a try. All right. So the first one, I'm going to read off. Can also edit this in post. The first comment. Explain what tariff, because anyone start before 10 July 2025, laughing, moron. All right. That's your first one. Moron. Second one. Wait. I'm going to read 2 and then move the microphone back to you. The second one. TBH, though, you have a point, though. We also see that texting the other side lets us chip at 2.5% for a day, then it shoots right back up just to take 20% from everyone. Is just sad to see we're doomed to go down, even if we took from the rich. It won't last a year. Would that be enough? All right. Do you think A or B is real?
I can imagine the exact type of person who would write both of these, but I am gonna go with number 1, because it does tend to, people don't tend to be that proactive.
Wordy?
Yes.
Okay, I did choose some wordy ones for this, but you are correct. The first one was real. Explain what tariff, because anyone start before 10 July 2025, moron. That is the real one. Good job. All right, next one. Next one is, I pay more in taxes every month than Elon does ever in all his business. Think about that for a minute. Okay, that's number 1. Next one. Hashtag Trump Nation. You kids don't know what you're talking about. Lots of brainwash opinions here. You all seem scared to say what you really want to say. Giving you some feedback, have you ever want to grow this channel? Which one do you think is real?
Elon Musk is... I don't think someone's stupid enough to claim Elon Musk has paid less in business taxes than they have in 1 year. I'm going to go with number 2.
Ding, 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 ding. You are good at this. I have a feeling that you've spent some time in social media comment sections.
Yep.
I have the feeling. All right, let's do the next one. All right, next one. No, Trump is going to make billionaires pay the tariffs. Trump was never a deep state. He is a real working man who understands how billionaires hoard our wealth. All right, that's the first one. Number 2, they give Israel 300 gorillions to drop a GBU bomb on a child with a rock, but gives $2 to Ukraine to defend herself against the biggest country. Rose, crying. Which one do you think is real?
I've seen quite a few MAGA communists in my my journeys through the interwebs. I'm gonna go with number 1.
First one I made up. The 300 gorillions was the correct one. See, I told you this would be fun. All right. Next one. Okay. Students for Liberty is only gay, and more gay. I will follow only when you cut all the guy crap. That one. B. We were a colony, not a country. Countries tariff each other. Colonies don't have that luxury. Please learn about U.S. history, man.
That sounds a lot like something Charlie Kirk may have said. So I'm going with number 1 because Charlie Kirk is not smart enough to come on here.
You think the gay one is real?
The gay one is real.
The gay one is fake. I made that one up. Again, I really think that one could have been real though, just based on the other ones. But no, the one about tariffs was a real comment we got on TikTok. All right, I think we're down to the last 2.
Okay.
This has been fun.
Redemption arc.
But let's see if you can get this last one. Because the U.S. spent decades on an embargo and purposely ruining that economy. And despite that, Cuba has some of the best doctors in the world. Next. All right, that was real. The second one is, communism didn't actually do that. You would know if you actually read history. Republicans will never take accountability. They just love to blame others for their mistakes.
I'm gonna go with number 1 because I don't think communists would be in this chat section.
What? You think the first one is real?
First one's real.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
Ding, ding, ding. The second one I made up. That was one. I got you on some of them. I did get you on some of them. All right. What time do we got? Okay. All right. Well, that was really fun. I don't think there was a few. Let me see. I think we got to everything. We didn't really talk. I mean, I honestly don't really care about this. I put it in the doc, but I don't really care about the Carolina Republican. Do you care about the Carolina Republican primary?
I mean, if it's interesting,
Okay, I'll at least read you the headline. So, do you know Project 2025?
Yes.
Okay.
The Heritage
So
Foundation.
yes. So one of the lead architects, writers for that. How do I say that? Paul Dans has challenged Senator Lindsey Graham. Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Lindsey Graham? Okay. For South Carolina primary. The reason why this made the news, so outright the Project 2025 versus Lindsey Graham, who is like very much GOP establishment. Yeah. I mean,
I saw that video where he stood still for a while. It's gonna be a hard choice for Americans. You want the Heritage Foundation or the really old guy?
Yeah. It's so just my own opinion, not my opinion, my prediction. I don't think this Paul Dans has much of a chance because Lindsey Graham has already been endorsed before this announcement by Trump. Mm-hmm. Usually that's just how it goes. Whoever Trump endorses wins, like in almost every single case, practically. And also, like, you know, the establishment has a lot of power. But also, a lot of people think that Project 2025 was written by the Republicans. It was not. It was written by separate Heritage Foundation. It's its own nonprofit. So, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about the Heritage Foundation or thoughts on Lindsey Graham or either one?
The Heritage Foundation, I think it should be pretty obvious what I would assume about the Heritage Foundation and kind of what I haven't done the most research about them, but I know the surface level. I know the surface level of Project 2025. And some of it's okay. A lot of it's not okay. A lot of it's terrible. Lindsey Graham, again, a lot of it's terrible. But yeah, I would predict he's going to win probably, because I don't think the Republicans want the heat of having the Heritage Foundation, the Project 2025 guys, especially because of like the smear campaign it allowed the Democrats to run against them during the election.
Yeah, the Project 2025 paper had like some crazy policy suggestions. I'm trying to remember something. Like I think one of them was like criminalizing being trans. Was that a smear campaign or was that real? I think that was
I'm not
real.
sure. There was so many.
There was
different
misinformation
things.
as well, so I could have gotten misinformationized.
Both sides were lying about what was and wasn't in there.
But there was like, honestly, I honestly genuinely
It's been
can't
a
tell
few
in my
years,
mind
yeah.
which was the real Project 25 and which was the misinformation. But again, there were some crazy real things in there, and again, I don't think he has much of a chance, but kind of interesting. You know, it's always interesting to see petty fighting
Yeah.
in the party, either party.